Hi guys, it's Kelly and I'm back with another video. You may notice this is a short one. I apologize. I made 2 cards and it was still short. So this is for the all to new February 2019 release Blog Hop, and there's a couple different products that I'm going to be using. One of the things that I wanted to point out though was I noticed when I got the stamp sets that they were thicker, and then so I opened them up and they're doing this really cool thing where they're giving you like examples with the images that are already there. And then I'm also going to be using one of the little cube sets. This is the floral ink set. They have a bunch of them that are really very lovely. But this is the one that I'm using today for my 2 cards. So the stamp sets that I'm using are the Frilled Petals, Beautiful Peonies, and then the sentiment sets are Better Together and Reason to Smile. I totally love these. I could not do without the sentiment sets. Like, I knew, even if that meant that I was going to be making a card that had no images to color on it, that I was getting the sentiment sets. I wanted to do something a little bit simpler. So in order to create some interest in the background, so it wasn't just on like plain charcoal cardstock, I'm using a super old trick, which is I picked one of the floral images. This is one of the ones from the Frilled Petals, and I'm inking that up with Versamark ink. So Versamark ink is typically used for embossing, but if you stamp on a colored cardstock with it, it gives you a really beautiful tone-on-tone effect. It doesn't stay sticky, it dries down, and you can use it on any color. I will tell you it works better on darker colors than lighter colors, but it leaves an impression on every one of them. So this is the other one that I just used the biggest peony to fill in those areas. Then we're going to move on to the stamping. So my gray panels are a typical A2 size card. They are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I have cut down my Nina. This is Nina Solar White. I've cut these down to 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So they are exactly 1 inch smaller than the other ones. I am inking up with my lightest color, starting that to do some layered stamping. I know you might think I'm ill because I'm doing layered stamping and it's not something I typically do, but I really wanted the sentiments to kind of be the star of the show here. Since I've never used these stamps before, I wanted to make sure I was going to get a good impression with the large area that I had going on with the base of the peony. So you saw me just stamp it off one time on some scrap paper. I feel like stamps work better when they're like a little bit seasoned. It's kind of like when you get a new ink blender, like the new Tim Holtz ink blender. When you get a new one, it doesn't ink nearly as well as one that you've had forever. I also feel the same way about my beauty blender when I put on my foundation. I just feel like when it's been used already, it just blends so much better. But anyway, so I'm moving on to the next layer here. This is Coral Berry, which I think is hands down probably my favorite Altenew ink color. It's just a really beautiful, bright coral color, and I love it. Third layer is going to be Ruby Red, and this is going to be, you know, the little teeny tiny detail layer for the darkest shadows. Every single stamp layering set that they come out with, or really anybody comes, they're beautiful, but the reason I don't use them is because I don't like when my cards look like everybody else's cards. So that's why I just don't. I like to color them myself and then they look like mine. But that doesn't mean that they're not beautiful, because they are. These images are beautiful. And then there's two layers to the stem and leaf here. You could see as we're going through the video, you'll see the editing where it's kind of like cutting out. It's because I have to put my head right above them to make sure they're lined up appropriately. And I don't think that you want to look at the back of my head like 6 different times, especially since, I'm going to be honest, I have not been to my hair lady, my girl, and I got roots. Yep, I do, for sure. So I need to get that done sometime in the near future. But she was out of town. She was in Punta Cana, and so I had a hard time getting a hold of her. But anyway, back to these sentiments, because I really do want to talk about them. What is this? I think it's Better Together. Better Together. Yeah. Okay, so the Better Together one has bigger sentiments, and that's the one I'm ultimately going to be using on this card here. And they just have such good just such a loving sentiments. And especially now with the political climate being what it is, and people being a little less than kind, there's a lot of just a lot of diversity and different opinions, and people aren't always very kind with them. So I really love this set. So the sentiment I chose says different is beautiful, because we've talked about this before. I teach my son that different, it means different. Different doesn't mean bad. So there are another ones like, don't forget to love yourself. We're better together. Have courage and be kind. Celebrate our differences. Love, love, love all of them. For my second card, I am stamping. I'm doing kind of like really simple no line coloring. But I think it's really soft and really pretty, and I love bold colors. You guys know this. I love me some bold colors. But it doesn't always have to be that way to be very pretty. So I'm using that coral berry color again, because I told you already, I'm kind of like, I've got a little crush on it. And I'm doing a little bit of masking for this one. These ones are all outline stamps in the frilled petals set. It's a layering, but there's also an outline, which makes it acceptable for me, because you know I'm gonna go back and color the daylights out of those things. So once I had the flowers stamped out, then I switched over to putting in some leaves, and I used my midtones for both stampings here. So I used the coral berry for the red, and then I used the I think it's Forest Glades, it is indeed, for the stamping of the leaves. The other sentiment set that I used in here, the Reason to Smile, this one is awesome. So the sentiment that I chose says, you are, and then I built the rest of it. It says, how did I do it? Because you can put them in any order. You are braver than you feel, smarter than you think, and stronger than you seem. So yeah, I just really love those. Another one is you, and here you are living despite it all. Totally true. You are somebody's reasons to smile. You are every lovely word I could possibly think of, which I really love that one. So they're really good, encouraging, loving stamp sets. And so I needed to have those in my life. For the coloring, I've picked 3 colors. Now, when I said simple copic coloring, I really meant it. And I'm sure you're probably all just like dying of shock. I wanted to do the centers yellow, and then I'm only going to add, I'm using a very light pink. I'm only going to add some color where the shadows would be, and I'm going to leave the tips of it white, because I told you I want the sentiments to be the star of the show. So I want something that's going to be very pretty but very soft in the background, so that I can stamp my sentiment directly over top of it. And this technique just kind of worked really well for that. Some of the smaller petals are getting filled in completely because they're curled up over themselves. So those aren't really going to have a whole lot of white. The larger petals, I was able to add more pink to it to kind of, make sure that there was enough color in there that it made sense. Altenew inks, they're not Copic friendly. I shouldn't say they don't. I started to say they don't work with Copics or with alcohol markers, but that's not true. What that means is when you put an alcohol marker over their inks, it will blur or smudge the ink. But in this case, it's really working to my benefit, because it's softening up some of those stamp lines so that the whole thing in the background is much softer. So you can use them together. It's just going to soften those ink lines. And in this case, with a technique like this, if that's what you're going for, it's awesome. But if you're looking to keep those images crisp, then you're probably going to want to pick something that is safe for alcohol markers. Again, with the leaves, just add very little shading, left the, the edges white. I did go back in with the yellow just to kind of blend that in a little bit more. I apologize for already having the sentiment lined up, but because each one is different, like my head was in the way the entire time. So yeah, what's been going on with so tomorrow's today when you're watching this, it'll be Valentine's Day, and I signed up to volunteer at Peanut's party. They're having an ice cream sundae bar, which is super fun. I still have not completed his Valentine's because I am a procrastinator of all procrastinators. Like, I cannot help myself. I just have too much on my plate. And I not that, you know how like sometimes you can't say no to people? It's not even that I can't say no to people, it's that I don't want to. Like, I want to be able to do all of the things. Here I'm just adding some craft foam on the back of those pieces so that they'll be popped up again, because it is such a simple design, just adding a little bit more interest. So just in the last couple of days, it's kind of been wild and crazy. I ended up picking an extra day to teach at the college because one of the other instructors' basements flooded, because Mother Nature is crazy wild drunk lately around here, and I think really everywhere, honestly. So we've gone from you know, the negative degrees to 60 degrees, back to the 20s. I think we're going up to the 40s this weekend. It's insane. But I'm very excited for his party. I decided to do, well, I asked him if he wanted to do crayons or if he wanted to do glow stick Valentines, because honestly, I'm not even trying to mess around with people's kids' food allergies. No, can't do it. No, thank you. So his Valentine says, I'll probably post him on Instagram, because I post everything on Instagram. Instagram stories, like if you ever want to see what I'm doing, what I'm not doing on YouTube, that's pretty much where I'm at. I added a little bit of shine to kind of the edges of the flowers, and then also the stamped one as well. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So I know it was super quick, and I will be back with more videos. Don't worry. There's a lot happening over on the blog, so there'll be lots more videos, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.